65, getting ready for week 6 coming off the Eagles bye week. Jeff Kerr joining us now on Birds 365 at Jeff Kerr CBS. Jeff, welcome to the show, man. 3-0 yesterday for the NFC East. How you doing, brother?
All I cared about was the Phillies winning game 2 yesterday. So
that was a big
I wouldn't have liked
to
have
hell
been
of a
in
baseball game.
Yeah, if the Phillies lost that one, boy, man.
I'll tell you what, John. It's funny. You would have enjoyed social media around the 5th, 6th inning yesterday. Season's over. You know this team stinks. They got to fire the manager. They got to fire this guy. They got to fire.
Yeah,
that
we were
guy.
just talking about every city's the same, Jeff.
Yeah,
we were talking about it.
They are. You know, Dodgers fans are panicking today too. And you know what? It's funny. I didn't get a lot of that on my timeline because I feel like a lot of smarter Phillies fans follow me and they kind of know the shtick, but. It's just crazy how sports can change. But yeah, Zander, it was funny during the game. I was actually watching a lot of the football stuff because I still had NFL duties to do. But man, those Commanders, what a game!
Wow,
I think they're pretty good.
Dan Quinn. I think we got an RG3 situation developing here. I think they're legit.
Yeah,
I said the one thing I wrote about yesterday's. I said, boy, the Eagles look really well off over the next 7 days with what's going on with Cleveland and Deshaun Watson and Kevin Stefanski. He wants to bench him. He can't bench him. They're just a disaster. But the next 7 years, the Eagles are in some trouble with Jaden Daniels if he stays healthy. I mean, that dude is special. And if you remember RG3's rookie year, that's kind of what it was like, but he got hurt. He had that horrific knee injury in the playoffs, and I emphasize playoffs because they made the playoffs. This Commanders team is going to be an issue, Jeff Kerr.
I'll tell you what. Not only just Jaden Daniels, but do you know they're like I think they're the first team in NFL history to run for like 250 plus yards in 3 of their first 5 games, which is
and he's a big part of that, obviously.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, they're they have 30. Did you know they have 33 new players and 17 new starters? They completely remade that team, and it's working out well.
Their offense has gone a complete 180 with Cliff Kingsbury and Brian Johnson. They have scored 30 plus points in 3 games. They haven't done that since I think 2015 when Kirk Cousins was there. They haven't scored this year. They scored 40 in back-to-back games. They haven't done that since 91 when Mark Rippon was the quarterback. It's a totally different era there, and I can see why Commanders fans are excited. Dan Snyder's not their owner anymore. They got the right pick at quarterback. They got look, they
got Olamide Zaccheaus who looks like he can play football.
Yeah, they got a 3rd round pick from the Eagles. It's funny how I always saw Olamide Zaccheaus could play last year. I didn't think he'd be back, but I didn't think he was as bad as what he showed here, and clearly that's not.
Well, I think he's better than any of the group they have here now, at least to this point. But he's leading the NFL in punt returns. I think coming in, that's a surprise. Not that the Eagles needed a punt returner. Now they do, but not.
I'll tell you who Olamide Zaccheaus looks better than. He looks better than Jahan Dotson.
Yeah. Well, how about Adam Peters, pilfering Howie Roseman? And boy, when the Eagles fans made that trade, how are you going to deal with AJ and Devontae and Jahan Dotson? Well, you can ignore one of them. The other 2 are a problem.
That's what happens when you don't address the 3rd wide receiver position in the offseason because you decide to become top heavy, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's the result. You ended up with Paris Campbell, John Ross, Britton Covey, and whoever. And Britton Covey was the best one.
Yeah, don't disparage Britton's name.
No,
he was performing okay at least.
Yeah. And honestly, I was more than fine with them just going into the year with Britton Covey as the 3rd.
Yeah, well, I mean, it also comes down to the quarterback, I think, does take some role in terms of elevating guys like that when you don't have bona fide superstars. Olamide Zaccheaus didn't do much here in Philly, but he's done a lot in Washington because they're getting him the ball, the quarterback putting him in position. Dotson stinks here. Is that on Dotson, or is he just not an elite player?
There
and he could
too.
use some,
Well, Dotson has to be better at running routes, and
definitely he's not getting open.
John and I talked about this last week. If you can't run around in the NFL, you might as well forget it.
Yeah, you're not going to get the ball. No doubt. Dare I say it, guys? I know we're talking about the Commanders being a tough out, and I think that's a given right now. We've got to them 2 times. I think we have them November 13th and then early December as well. Yeah, November. We played the Commanders November 14th and then December 22nd. So down the stretch there. I think the Giants could be a tough out for the Eagles as well. I'm not saying the Giants are a world beater team.
Defensively, yes.
I think they could be a tough out, though.
They're an NFL team.
Yeah. I think they could be a tough out.
They don't stink. I'll just say that. Like I like to make fun of them, but man, that pass rushes. They have 21 sacks on the road already. Yeah. That's nuts. Like, and their offensive line's better. I think Daniel Jones is more comfortable with Brian Dable calling the plays. And yeah, I don't think they're as bad as they were last year. Remember, they beat the Eagles last year and they were terrible. I mean, I know it was week 18, but still. I'm in agreement with you. It's not like, oh, you're playing, but also I should say this: it's a game the Eagles should win.
Yeah. Well, it's always in division games. You got to play twice. There's always that aspect. It becomes a little bit more difficult. And you're right. Defensively, look, they have some guys who can rush the passer. I talk about Dexter Lawrence all the time. He's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He is a dominant player. Brian Burns shows up. Okereke is a good linebacker. I like Deonte Banks. Like most young corners, he has his ups and downs, but they have some nice things going on. And they didn't even have Neighbors yesterday.
I know. Slayton had over 100 yards. Daniel Jones threw for 250 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he looked decent yesterday. He looked like the serviceable. Yeah.
It's the play calling. It really is. And Malik Neighbors changes everything. And like we said before, we said multiple times on the show between the three of us, Darius Slayton isn't a bad NFL player. Wan'Dale Robinson's a good player. He's good in the slot. Look, they're not terrible. It's the only thing that's ever bothered me with the Giants over the last 6 months.
Offensive line.
Yeah, their offensive line, exactly. And it's they got John Runyon.
It's okay.
Yeah, he's fine. He's better than what they had. Jermaine.
He's not the type of guy that's going to change your offensive line around. He needs good people around him too, and they're still
their goal was to get to competency, and they're closer to competency.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Daniel. Outside of what game was it? Daniel Jones got sacked. I'm trying to remember the game. That was really early in the year. It might have been.
Was it this year?
Yeah, it was this year. It was like week 2, maybe. I'm trying to remember the opponent.
I don't know. They had the Vikings week 1. He got.
Yeah, he got. You know what? That was the game. That was the game.
It might have been that game. Yeah.
And Brian Flores' defense does that to everybody. So that's more the Vikings than the Giants.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's what I mean. So they're weird the way they play defense. Is the only way.
By the way, John, you know what my biggest takeaway from week 6 was, and week 5, and I did in my own reactions because I had the live blog the Texans and the Bills game. That wasn't my takeaway, but I was catching the second half when I got to Citizen Bank Park yesterday of the Jets Vikings game. Aaron Rodgers is washed up.
I don't want to go there.
Well,
I'm going there. I'm
not going.
Yeah, but Jeff, the good sample size from him this year has still been excellent.
Yeah.
How do you go from what was it, the Monday night game or whatever game he was on primetime? The dude, he was 28 for 35.
Patriots stink.
All right, that's fair.
He's not what he was, but
lowest passer rating, lowest yards per attempt through 5 games, lowest completion percent. Oh, by the way, Garrett Wilson's a really good football player, and he just totally ignores. I don't understand him.
Well, I think he's frustrated with the receivers. That's why everybody's talking about Devontae Adams there.
And he should go there. Honestly, they need him.
Everything because of who they were playing. See, again, I think everybody loses the context. Because of who they were playing, everything was out quick. They were doing that on purpose. And then you have the low yards per attempt because you're trying to stymie the blitz and Flores and its nuttiness. So they're not going to play like that every week.
No, but I just don't see the mobility isn't there. That's what, to me,
I'll
makes
tell you
Aaron
what,
Rodgers
because
Aaron Rodgers.
that game was on. Boy, it was a long day of football because I watched the London game.
Do we like the London game? Are we
I
like?
don't.
Like,
I've said it after that game. It was a very interesting game because of who was playing, but afterwards, I'm like, all right, I'm spent. I don't want
I
to
know.
watch football. I certainly didn't want to watch the night game. And when there was a weather delay, I was out. I'm like, all right,
I
I've
have
done
watched
enough.
that game, to be honest. I was
Well,
doing my
you were
Christmas.
doing Philly stuff.
I
I
watched
was
the first
out.
half of it and dozed off.
I was out. So, they had a good matchup, but like next week it's Jacksonville and somebody.
Was it 3 weeks? The Eagles have the night game, right? It's Eagles Jaguars. Is that 3 weeks from now? Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's over the next 4. The Eagles have they have Cleveland, then
No, Cleveland, Giants, Cincinnati, then Jacksonville.
Giants,
Yeah, and I'll
Cincinnati.
tell you who's getting hot now. Cincinnati's finding the rhythm. Joe
Yeah.
Burrow, 5
Oh
touchdowns.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
they're
they're 1-4. That was
they're
another one of my
1-4.
overreactions. Are they going to make the playoffs? And I said no, because you can't keep burying yourselves. The schedule gets easier, but you can't start 1-4 in this league. There's too many mediocre teams that are doing something right now. And look, Washington beat them.
Yeah,
The
Washington.
Patriots, Jeff, the Patriots beat them.
Yeah. Patriots are the worst team in football, in my opinion. I think they're the worst team.
I got to
Also,
go
I think
Carolina.
they're-
I still go Carolina.
Carolina Patriots is going to be fun. In a couple
I mean, can you imagine being David Tepper and you're going into Chicago and you gave up and all that stuff to get Bryce Young, and Chicago's just beating the brakes off you?
Caleb Williams looks like the
Yeah.
number 1 pick yesterday.
He finally looked
not
good.
because Jaden Daniels. I got that one right.
I did too. Yeah, I was in the Jaden Daniels camp with you, John.
Yeah.
It's oh, by the way, CJ. So I did Bill's stat. CJ Stroud had a very uncharacteristic day for him. He was cruising, just making plays left and right, and in the fourth quarter, again, even the good ones turn it over. And I know I get on Jalen Hurts for it, but unacceptable interception.
How about the game Josh Allen had?
Oh yeah, Josh Allen was terrible.
I thought I made a mistake. I saw the stat line. I'm like, that can't be right.
9 for 30. He was as bad as he looked.
I thought somebody forgot the 1 in front of the 9. I thought it was a typo. 9 for 30. An NFL quarterback.
No, Khalil Shakir was awful for them. Dalton Kincaid, they double covered, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Mac Hollins can't get open. Shocker. Keon Coleman had a big play yesterday, but it's clear
Mac Hollins couldn't get open.
Yeah, shocker, right? Mac Hollins is still in the NFL for those of you who don't know.
It's incredible. He's still hanging around. He's actually had some big plays too.
Hey,
Jeff, I got an Eagle question. All right, we're coming off the bye week here. A lot of sky is falling in Philly, and me right there with everybody.
It is Zander. I mean, I don't know.
Jeff.
I thought the city was on an all-time high after Castellanos yesterday.
Yesterday, Jeff, the Cleveland Browns not only lost 34-13 to the Commanders, they gave up 7 sacks. Will the Eagles pass rush, namely Bryce Huff? Will Bryce Huff get on the board this week, Jeff?
Can Bryce Huff be the backup right tackle is the question, Zander Krause. And he can be Fred Johnson in camp. Can he be the backup right tackle? I think that's the real question for him.
By the way, is Nick Chubb coming back?
I know he's trying to.
He's close. He's back to practicing, so he might be back next week.
What about their tackles? They've been,
No, they've been injured all year. That's why I've been picking against them all year.
I'm saying, but are they? I haven't checked into it. I have to check into it.
From what I've heard, they're getting closer to coming back, but it hasn't been.
I mean, all of a sudden, if Jack Conklin, Jedrick Wills, Wyatt Teller's on injured reserve.
Wyatt Teller's hurt too, yeah.
Yeah. Joel Bitonio. They're one of the best offensive lines in football when those guys play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, none of those guys are playing.
They have the best guard combination in football.
Wyatt Teller's awesome.
By the way, guys, I got a funny story for you since we're kind of focusing back on the Eagles here. So I'm sure as most of the people in the chat know, Nick Sirianni was at the game Saturday, right? So
Saturday, right? He was at Saturday.
Jokes are
Did he
coming
get booed?
Wait,
it was better. It was way better than that. So my
Jeff,
buddy,
he wasn't there yesterday too?
no, he wasn't there yesterday.
Saturday.
But,
Okay, gotcha.
No, but this is really funny. So my buddy sends me a video. I didn't post it.
I didn't even know he was there.
No, but it was so funny.
Checked out.
They're sitting in the section below Nick is in the Hall of Fame club. Everybody turned around and literally said this: "Take the points, take the points." And Nick Sirianni just looked at them like he wanted to kill. Like it was. I'm like, dude, don't.
Well, I'm gonna blame that. I'm gonna blame that on Nick because come on, dude, you're gonna get a bunch of shit if you go out right now.
Yeah, no, it is Nick's. By the way, guess who was a man of the people in my other buddy's section yesterday?
Jason Kelsey.
No, he's a current Eagle.
Man of the people, current Eagle.
He's an offensive player, and I think you can figure it out, John.
Offensive player. Well, it's not Jalen Hurts being him.
It wasn't Saquon.
Yeah, he's a man of the people. Saquon. That's a good guess.
I figured he might be one of the only guys that they wouldn't boo right now.
They're not booing this guy right now. I'll say that.
Jordan Mailata is a man of the people.
Dallas Goedert.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed out Gallup Spurs, but yeah.
It's from my buddy was sitting 2 rows behind him, and he said Dallas is just talking up everybody else. Everybody's saying what a good year he had. He's leading. I didn't realize Dallas Goedert was leading like all NFL tight ends and receptions and receiving yards.
Well, yeah, it's too early. You get what you get one.
He's taking advantage of his riding high right now. He's like, let me get out to the Phillies.
Yeah. But boy, Nick, dude, just watch it on TV, man. By the way, he's a Pirates fan anyway, so just watch it on TV.
Yeah, exactly. But now I think Brock Bowers is leading the entire NFL and all of it, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, did he have a big day yesterday?
Well, it doesn't matter. The Eagles have only played 4 games, and 170 yards in one of them skews it. So, I mean, let's wait and see what happens over a lengthier sample size. But it was nice to see Dallas Goedert get loose at least, because we've been talking about it for years. Jeff, you and I know, how athletic he is, and but let's be honest, on this team, it's going to be AJ, Devontae, and you're number 3. So he doesn't get the types of targets like a George Kittle's going to get, or back in the day, Mark Andrews before his injury. I mean, Lamar would stick to him like glue.
Yeah, now you got Isaiah Likely and Charlie Cole. By the way, what a forward thinker Eric DeCosta is there.
By the way, Isaiah Likely is really good.
Yeah, he was really good at Coastal. I loved his game coming out of college, and when the Ravens got him, I'm like, ooh, this could be something.
Did you see the Lamar play when he dropped the snap?
Oh, Bills Texans was going nuts at the end of the game. John, I'm sure you saw what Sean McDermott did, right?
Oh yeah, he's talking about game management. My God, people say Josh Allen, not the best time to say because he's coming off that game, but Josh Allen can't win playoff games. Can't get to. He had 13 seconds, and Sean McDermott screwed that up. Couldn't manipulate 13 seconds.
Yeah, I like Sean McDermott, but man, him throwing bombs with 32 seconds left. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Just run the clock. And he's like, well, and again, this is how I look at it. They burn all their timeouts. Even if Robert Woods has a good punt return, what do you have, like a second? Fairbairn's going to kick a 6, which, by the way, he probably would have made the 66-yard field goal.
Yeah, how about that, man? What's going on with kickers? Give me an explanation. I asked Michael Clay, I asked Jake Elliott.
I just think they're better. I really just think they're better.
They're drilling everything this year, man. They're on fire.
Right. What was it? The guy from the UFL that's on Detroit now, Dan Campbell said he might let him try a 70-yard field goal.
Yeah, I mean the kid from the Cowboys too. He could.
Brandon Aubrey's the best kicker in football right
now.
Yeah, he's cash. Yeah,
I still go Justin Tucker. I know he missed a couple yesterday. I think he had to hit 56 to
56. I think to tie it, right?
To send it to overtime. right down the freaking middle.
Yeah. How about Evan McPherson missing his first
Yeah, that was
game-winning
bad hold though. Bad
Yeah,
snap,
yeah, it
bad
was a
hold.
bad
That
hold.
wasn't
Yeah,
him.
yeah, it wasn't Evan McPherson.
He would have banged that through. I guarantee you he
By
would
the
have
way,
banged it
John,
through.
did you know Derrick Henry's on pace for like 1,950 yards? And
Yeah,
like
how about
Jackson's on
that,
pace for
man?
1,300.
I was
Yeah.
like, how is that going to fit? And they're using
Oh, it fits perfectly.
It fits perfect.
they're using the fullback with Derrick. Could you imagine that? Trying to stop that?
The most famous player in Baltimore, believe it or not, is Patrick Ricard. They
Yeah, I
love
mean,
him. They love him.
well, they should. There's like 5 fullbacks who play, and
There
you
might be
know,
6 with Ben Van Sumeren.
yeah. How about Ben? You got these fullbacks, and then you in that particular case with Derrick Henry behind him, and you got a bunch of 220-pound linebackers. Good luck with that, man. But I don't know. But you can't. It's sort of like, boy, I wish I remember the college coach. It was definitely a Notre Dame coach. I forget which one. When he was talking about basing Navy every year. And people like would say, well, that's a week off for Notre Dame. Usually it was until a certain era when they weren't as good. But
That wasn't the Bob Davie era.
it might have been Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
But he's like, you can't justify preparing for them because nobody else plays that way. So you got 1 week to prepare for them. It's a pain in the ass. It's basically what he said, because you can't spend that much time on it. And that's the same thing with the Ravens. It's like, you can't spend that much time worrying about a giant fullback in front of a 250-pound tailback. So what do? I'm surprised. I still think Baltimore's going to be one of the best teams in the NFL.
I do too. I mean, they were 0-2 and they rarely lost those 2 games. I mean, the loss to Vegas it is what it is. Every team has a bad loss. It was just early in the year, so we overreacted to it. But I'm like, this team's going to be okay. Like, Cincinnati's down, Cleveland's down, Pittsburgh had a tough loss last night. It's all of a sudden they're back in first place.
What do you make of Justin Fields in Pittsburgh? I mean, what are they seriously gonna? Is Russell hurt? Is he really hurt, or are they really going to go with Justin Fields?
I mean, as we saw with Joe Burrow, calf injuries they take time, but I think they're going to go with Fields.
As you see with John McMullen, calf injuries take
time.
Yeah.
Oh, John McMullen is still injured.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. But
by
they
the way,
do take time.
By the way, John, your favorite people were trying to put their little cameras on my shoulder last night because I'm just good at getting in the scrum of an interview.
Were they? Man,
Jeff, I could see you being extra good at squirming your way up.
I'm very good at it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, thanks to the Eagles and thanks to the way CJ Gardner-Johnson answers questions, I'm always prepared for Nick Hester.
Jeff, coming up into this game, the Browns are 1-4. It almost feels like a get right game, but you also don't want to get trapped. If you're Nick Sirianni, what's your message to the team right now coming out of the bye week? Obviously, a little bit underwhelming first 4 weeks for them compared to what the expectation was. I think even inside the locker room, what's the message that Nick's got to give to this team to get them back on track?
First thing is, if A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith are healthy, I would say, hey, guys, we had the week off. We're healthy. Let's make a run. Let's get going. We survived the first 4 weeks. We're 2-2. I know things look bad, but we got a team that we gotta go 1-0 this week. I hate to use the James Franklin thing, but we gotta go 1-0 this week. That's
everybody. That's like every football coach in the history of the world.
But James Franklin really pushes 1-0.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with modern coaches to me. They all do the same thing. They're all cookie cutters. That's why I like the rare, unique ones who do some different things. But even from a messaging standpoint, as you just mentioned, we got to go 1-0 this week. We got to, it's about the process, not the results, all that kind of stuff. And all of it's true. It's 100% true. Control what you can control. All of it's true. It's good life lessons. But, I mean, you could see the eyes rolling. If you say that a millionth time you say it, I think, it's it's better if you get a guy who's got some personality, can do things a different way, I think. But
I
that's
just,
rare, man.
I
Everybody's
mean,
looking for the cookie cutter.
yep, exactly. It's the clone copy, if you will. And I mean, look, if you want my opinion, they should beat the Browns. They should beat the Giants. They should beat. I mean, really, I know Cincinnati's playing well, even though they're 1-4
Well, Cincinnati's tough on the road,
on
but
the road.
they should win 3 of these next 4 games.
Yeah, and they should get their season on track, right? That's 5
Yeah,
and 3. I think
yeah.
I think fans would live with that.
Obviously 4-0 would be perfect, but if they come out of this stretch 3-1, I think you're fine. I think you're fine. And it's good, but it's
I
going to
think
be
that's
tough.
a tough ask to go 3-1.
By the way, guys, I saw you when I got logged on. You guys were talking about the 49ers. Boy, I'm not worried about them because the division is kind of crawling to them, and they do start slow, but they do not look good.
Well, they finally got Brandon Ayuk involved.
Yeah.
They have had a lot of injuries. Kittle was banged up. Debo was banged up. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey
Trent Williams
has
is
not played.
he's kind of banged up too.
Yeah, well,
Jake
he
Brendell's
also,
banged up.
yeah. So they have had a lot of injuries. I do think, Brock Purdy is the type of guy. I don't think he gets enough credit that he should, but I do think he's the type of guy that needs a good supporting cast, which is not an insult, Jody, if you're listening. It is not an insult to say everybody needs help, but
We saw that with Jalen last week.
yeah. I mean, to me, that's one of the dumbest criticisms, that people need help. Everybody needs help. Tom Brady needed help. Aaron Rodgers needs help. Peyton Manning needs help. Bryce Harper everybody needs help. So that to me but there are certain guys who can go win you a game, not consistently, but can go win you a game with off schedule stuff and that kind of thing. And he's not that guy. How is that an insult? Anybody?
It's not. I mean, I actually think Purdy's having a really good year.
He is. He's having a fine year.
I think he's having a better year than last year. And last year he had a great year.
He struggled a little bit yesterday, but other than that, I think he's been pretty good.
I think that's more Jonathan Gannon, personally.
Yeah, and by the way, Kyler Murray's better than people realize.
Yeah.
He's starting to look good. Yeah.
It's funny. It's a lot of people in Arizona tell me it's such a mixed bag with him. Like the media likes him, but the fans don't. And
who, Kyler or JJ?
Kyler. And the fans are like, well, we pay this guy a lot of money, and Cardinals are like, yeah, but we're actually a pretty good team when he's on the field, and yeah, they are. I mean, they're competitive.
Yeah, I mean, quarterback is such it's like you almost have to pay $50 million for above average.
And the 49ers are going to find that out too.
Oh, yeah. And they have to pay it. I mean, because when you don't have a quarterback, everything becomes so difficult. So I don't know, man. Like Tua to me is the poster child of that. Like, boy, but when you add the health issues on top of it, I would not have gone near that number. But I understand. Look how bad they are without him.
They're terrible without him.
That's what I was about to say. Tua's contract looks worth it based on how they look.
By the way, if you're Mike McDaniel right now, you're probably like kind of smirking, like, "Geez, how are we 2-3?"
And then there's another perfect example of the over reliance on the coaching aspect. The coach this, the coach that. Mike McDaniel's he's like the smart, innovative young guy who's scoring 70 points, and then he loses his quarterback and he looks like everybody else. I mean,
what's the old saying you always tell us, John? Talent.
Yeah. Personnel first, talent first. Always, always, always. Good, bad, indifferent. Talk about the players first. Then you can talk about the coaches if they screw something up, like Sean McDermott.
It's funny just covering two sports. In football, they always blame the coach. and in baseball, they always blame the players. Coach usually comes second.
No, managers get a lot of shit.
Rob Thompson does, but then again, there are some Phillies fans. They just like to blame him forever.
Well, I've always maintained that Philadelphia is so football centric that they treat every baseball game like it's a football game.
Oh, they do. And
like even like game 75 when you're not, burning your best relief pitchers and everybody's like, why the hell? What are you doing?
Why is Taijuan Walker pitching? Because they don't have anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to use you know what the big criticism was on Saturday, John? But for all the guys who jump on the Phillies bandwagon in September and October, that's ridiculous. Rob Thompson didn't bring Zach Wheeler out in the 8th inning. I'm like, you guys do know Zach Wheeler pitched 110 pitches, which is the most for him for any pitcher since the World Series like 2 years ago.
That's Jeff. That's an old school mentality. Though I was talking
about. That's modern baseball.
I was talking to my pop about this. He's like, leave him in. He's still throwing 98. I'm like, dude, he had 110 pitches.
Yeah,
you Rob Thompson shouldn't have wanted 6 outs from the bullpen.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Jeff Hoffman is a guy that I don't want to say everybody in the organization trusts him, but that's their 8th inning guy. It's him and Carlos Estevez. They couldn't get it.
I mean, I do think they've gone too far with that. I'm more of an old school guy when it comes to baseball. I certainly in the playoffs, it's going to be different. I realize you pay these guys so much money, you want to get the longest shelf life and all that stuff. But once you hit the playoffs, if a guy is pitching like that, I'm going to put him out there in the 8th inning. Now, if he walks somebody, if he gives up a hit, I'm taking him out. But I'm going to let him try and finish. As long as he wants to.
See, this is what I'm thinking, what they were thinking. Okay, what if and look, they play every possible scenario. There might be a chance Zach Wheeler pitches game 4.
Yeah, possibly. But I'm saying I want to win game 1. I don't want to worry about game 4 and game 1. I'm saying if a guy is pitching like that, all I'm saying is, and he wants to pitch, that's part of it too. Some of these guys are bulldogs. Some of these guys got the Roger Clemens mentality. It's like, give me the freaking ball. And I don't know if that's him. I don't cover the Phillies. You do. But there's a lot of guys who have that mentality.
Let's put it this way. If the Phillies would have told Zach Wheeler you're going back out there for the 8th, he would have embraced it.
Well, then I would have sent him out there.
I mean, to me, I just know how they're run.
I'm just not ready to blame that loss on Topper for taking him out.
I'm not blaming him. That's modern. I'm blaming modern baseball.
Yeah, he's not. He's blaming the system, not the guy.
I get it. I'm just saying. I mean, the bats go cold. I mean, what the hell you want them to do?
Yeah. Well, that was
sometimes.
The issue.
Hey, guess what? Sometimes you got to win a 1-0 game or whatever. And if a guy's giving up 1 or 2 hits through 7 innings, and I got to win a 1-0 game, I'm sticking with the guy with the hot hands. If all those things align in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about games.
Especially versus a Mets team that's been coming back in the late innings all season long.
And, I don't think Mariano Rivera's out there. So,
I'll say this too. Carlos Mendoza played his hand a little bit on. He got a little desperate this series. Kodai Senga in game 1, that worked. But Edwin Diaz in the 8th. Couldn't use him for the 9th. Had to go with Tyler McGill, who's pretty much like their 5th starter. They're short right now. The effects of playing that doubleheader, all those games on the road, the wild card, the wild card series using all those pitchers up. I'll be honest with you, they're kind of fortunate it's 1-1.
Well, yeah, hey.
But
hey, they would say you're very fortunate to not be down 2-0.
But I agree with them. But I look at it this way: Phillies should have won game 1, the Mets should have won game 2.
Well, now it's a best of 3, and 2 games are in New York, so Mets still have the advantage getting 1.
My bold prediction was after the Phillies lost game 1, we're going to have a game 5. So
are you going to Citi Field, Jeff Kerr?
I will be going on Wednesday. Got some commitments on Tuesday.
Good stuff, Jeff. Real quick, let's get it back to the Eagles. I think I gotta go back to something that both of you said and were in unison on. The next 4 games, you guys think got a good chance. I'm looking at the next 6.
Well, the next 6 are a little different story.
I mean, the Giants are next week. I do. You got the Bengals on the road. I don't love that matchup for the Eagles.
I don't love that matchup.
I didn't like it in July.
Jaguars coming into Philly for a primetime. What is that? A Monday night game?
It's a Sunday night game.
Sunday night game. So
John
Doug
and I hate
Peterson,
Sunday night football. By the way,
Doug back to the link. Is he going to?
Who knows? You know,
for
Doug
the
might
owner?
be fired by that point.
And then you have the
They did get a
Cowboys on
big
the
win,
road
though.
and the Commanders. I mean, you could go 3-3 in these next 6 and turn up 5-5.
Season ain't over yet, though.
No, I'm not saying it's over. I mean,
but you know, John and I will be ripping Nick to shreds no matter what.
November 10th, November 14th, you know, and
2 games in 5 days, by the way.
2 division games, and the back end is Washington at Lincoln Financial Field. I think that'll tell you a lot about the NFC East at that point. Who's the real deal? Who isn't?
Right.
That's why I keep holding judgment on the Commanders. Let's see how they do against Philly and Dallas.
Oh, I'm holding judgment. I just mean, but they're much more typically when you go down to, hey, you know what the best thing about this whole season is, Jeff? We don't have to go to FedEx Field. We don't have to go to FedEx Field.
No,
because it's called Northwest Field or whatever.
We're going to that stadium.
We're going to that stadium, but unfortunately, we're going to that stadium.
That's always one of our funner road trips, John.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's it's a terrible place to watch a game. I assume Josh Harris is going to have a better setup than Daniel Snyder. I have confidence in you. Although I am going to miss the cheerleader stretching to take away.
You always point that out, too.
They do it on purpose. They used to do it on purpose. That's one of the issues that Daniel Snyder had. He had the poor cheerleader stretching to get the players out of focus.
You know, 25 years ago.
Worked with me. I can't.
The joke always was Daniel Snyder is the nerd that owns a football team. Well, now you can't say that anymore. But, man, he really did not know how to run a football team.
No, he was arguably the worst owner in sports. So I don't think Josh Harris has been a great owner for the 76ers, but
he's been better than the previous
He's
one.
mediocre, I'll say that. And that's a big upgrade over Daniel Snyder.
He'll be a godsend in Washington compared to what
already is. Got a good GM who's pilfering Howie Roseman. Got a good head coach.
One thing Josh Harris is good at, he stays out of the
No, he doesn't get involved. Yeah.
No, you barely hear him talk. Like he'll talk with the Sixers. He'll talk maybe once a year. Once a year.
Probably less now. Now that he doesn't care, probably less.
Yeah. He's still talk. Like he'll come in his helicopters. I think last time he talked was when they signed Paul George.
Yeah, they have a good passing game coordinator too.
I wrote about him at the owners meeting. Dan Quinn's eyes lit up when I asked him about that passing game coordinator.
Yeah. And by the way, the Eagles interviewed Cliff Kingsbury to be the offensive coordinator, as everybody chuckled about it.
I still say the Eagles' biggest mistake this offseason was they decided to run it back with a defense that, it looks like the same as John and I have been saying for about 3 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate the scheme. I hate it. But I've said that even when Jonathan was here. I said,
yeah. You've always said that. You've been saying that since 2021.
Jonathan found a way to make it work too, so give him credit for that.
Jonathan, he's a good coach. He's
definitely a good coach.
I know people don't want to hear.
No, he's definitely a good coach. Jeff, we're not going to have you on again until after the game. Did the Eagles get right this week? I mean, 1-4 Browns. They look pretty.
They should get right this week. They're home.
I know they should. That's not the question, though, Jeff. The question for you is: will the Eagles get right this week in Week 6?
Jalen Hurts gets right this week.
Well, that's an important one.
Boy, I don't think that's going to happen, but I think the Eagles are going to get right because I mean that Myles Garrett's still showing up. Now he's banged up. Dalvin Tomlinson.
He's banged up too. He's got like 5 injuries.
Yeah, Zadarius Smith, but he's playing. Owusu Koromoa is one of my favorite players. That dude can play.
Jock. Just call him Jock.
And he wears the goofy Guardian cap. I saw that yesterday. But he's a really good player. Denzel Ward's a really good player.
Marvin Erickson's a good player.
Greg Newsome as a slot corner is a good player. Grant Delpit's a good player. They got a lot of good players on defense, and Jim Swartz
And
on top of it.
it's crazy. Like their defense is still good, but it kind of I don't want to say it. Well, no, it did regress because they just played out of their minds last year.
Well, I think they're frustrated too because with that
Deshaun
crappy
Watson
offense, yeah.
stinks.
Well, you know, Kevin Stefanski wants to bench him, but he can't.
For Jameis.
Yeah, well,
not
I'm
allowed
not
to
saying
bench
it's
him.
great. They should have re-signed Joe Flacco and just
Oh.
went about it that way.
You
Is
know,
Andrew
no one.
Berry,
All,
is
you
Andrew
know,
Berry gonna get blown out of there soon?
should.
I don't think so. I think Kevin will go first, and then the clock will start on Andrew Berry.
Do you know no one offered Joe Flacco but the Colts?
Yeah, I believe that. I mean,
Joe
remember
said
when
that.
he was here?
Shane told me that at the owners' meetings. He said we were the only ones offering. We were kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a little bit surprising coming off his run the year prior because he did play really well down the stretch. Cleveland got to the playoffs. So, yeah, maybe. But I was thinking about dating back to his days with the Eagles. Like, nobody cared about Joe Flacco at that point. But, yeah, he's clearly still an NFL quarterback. Clearly.
Yeah,
And by that, I mean, obviously he's he's an NFL level starting quarterback.
Right.
I'm not saying, bottom 5 probably, but there's a lot of bad quarterbacks. And
I agree with Kirk Cousins' comments from Thursday night. 1,000%. He said, look, when you're a pocket quarterback, you're going to have a longer shelf life, whether you rupture your Achilles or not.
That's true. And the one thing is Nick Chubb. So we got to keep an eye on Nick Chubb because Nick Chubb could change. Deshaun Watson will still blow the game, but he might make it more difficult.
By the way, that was overblown yesterday. Deshaun Watson leaving the huddle. That did not happen. There were 12 men in the huddle.
That's what Zander said. It's still a terrible look.
Oh, it's a terrible look. I agree with you guys 100% on that.
Jeff, when the head coach who's been around for a while can't hide his disgust on the sideline. Now, knowing Kevin, he'll probably say it was because of the 12 men in the huddle. He was disgusted, but he was disgusted at the quarterback.
Also, I think the greatest thing that happened to the Philadelphia Eagles was Deshaun Watson not winning the country.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Can you imagine how bad they would be right now? Oh, by the way, the Eagles, they would have had a bad dude as their quarterback.
Yeah, well, seems that way. Allegedly.
Yeah,
Allegedly. I've never met the guy. So, but yeah, there's when that many people file civil suit.
And more are doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, he has some issues. Now, but I will say, and I said this to Zander at the start of the show, like he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, 2020, he had a great year. The Texans were terrible, but he had a wonderful
in Philadelphia fashion. Is he going to revive that this week somehow?
No, I don't think he is.
I mean, I think the Eagles are. I mean, look, I'm probably gonna own. I'm probably gonna have to own this, but.
And by the way,
you got to hit Daniel Jones the next 2 weeks.
You talk about Hassan Reddick. Better look at whether it's Le'Veon Bell or Deshaun Watson, because Deshaun Watson missed 17 games in 2021 when he was in limbo, and then 11. He was suspended for 11 games in 2022, and he ain't the same guy. And it's not about age. That is a long time off. And he's not the same guy.
That's why I think, honestly, I still say it's part of the problem. Aaron Rodgers. It's a long time off. It is.
Well, that might be too. I mean, but it took, Kirk Cousins a while, and he's throwing for.
But Kirk only ended up missing
500 yards.
Yeah, Kirk only missed like 9 games. But what Kirk Cousins did on Thursday night was insane. Insane.
Yeah, he was tremendous. I tell you what, the way you guys are talking about this game, if this team loses this game, are we at risk of the bottom falling out from under them? And
you're always right. The bottom can fall out of the Phillies on when do they play next?
Tuesday night.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Tuesday night, the bottom can fall out of the Eagle. Any loss in Philadelphia, the bottom.
I think the city needs the Phillies to go as far as they can right now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Take some pressure off them. Jeff, thanks for joining the show today, man. We'll talk to you again next Monday, hopefully after an Eagles win, a get right week. They better get right, Jeff, or we're gonna be raging on Monday next week. Thanks.
Yeah, Zander, I'm used to yelling at you on a Monday.
I know. Look, this is a soft Monday, Kerr. We got to get back to our bickering.
We had to get our voice back. We had to, we had to process our thoughts. We are controlling what we can control.
Yeah, we're on the bye week too, Kerr. Jeff, thanks for joining, man.
By the way, I want to ask you guys before I leave: which Sirianni core value do you guys live by?
Accountability.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Yeah, that's mine too, because I definitely don't connect, and I definitely don't care.
No, I definitely don't. Yeah, I don't connect.
I like accountability and I like fundamentals, but they don't seem to be very.
The Eagles don't own up to any of them, by the way, as I wrote last week.
I got a high football IQ, although a bunch of people in the chat would dismiss that, but I think I have a high football.
I think every time they
100% say John.
I think every time the Eagles lose or we do something stupid, we should pull the Darius Slay and write our career accomplishments.
Jeff, did you write the? I just Googled Sirianni's core values, and there comes my man, Jeff Kerr. Eagles are not living up to core values. Nick Sirianni.
They ain't live up to any.
Don't read it, everybody. Jeff Kerr writes the.
I gave multiple examples of them. I just kind of ripped into everybody at this point.
It's funny now that we're talking about it, I'm looking at him. I'm like, boy, he built this whole persona around these 5 core values. They're not even good core values. Connect and compete. No shit. It's the NFL. You got to compete. Connect is weak. Accountability is good. Smart football is okay. Fundamentals is okay. Not the greatest though. Not like some big
that's
5.
That's what Nick says winning football is. Well, they ain't doing it right now.
Yeah. Well, nothing says 15 missed tackles. Nothing says technique like 15 missed tackles.
Yeah, and fundamentals, right?
And how do you get better at that when you don't tackle practice?
Fair question. But nobody tackles in practice.
Well, yeah. Well,
I think there's this whole mentality of like everybody else practices tackling, and the Eagles don't. They do not. Yes.
You know who I said, and I knew the Eagles would never sign him in a million years, but when watching Bills Texas and watching Azeez Al-Shire. Yeah, maybe the Eagles should have paid up for him. They would never do it because he's a linebacker. Former safety, too.
No.
By the way, I saw
it paid up for was Xavier McKinney.
Oh, what a year he's having.
They did try.
They didn't want to go the extra distance. I mean, do what you got to do. I mean, they brought in CJ Gardner-Johnson for what, a couple million less, $4 or $5 million less.
The text I was getting from John about CJ Gardner-Johnson stats this week were, I'm like, I can't wait to read this story.
He's not in the same league as Xavier McKinney.
In his mind, he is.
Well, he's not.
Hey, if he doesn't believe it, who will? That's I don't have a problem with him believing it, but it's not true.
Oh, it's definitely not true. Xavier McKinney's playing. I mean, I don't know what his stats are in the year, but every time I turn him on,
he's got like 6 interceptions, I think, or 5. No, maybe 5. But
I think it's 5 in 5 games.
5 in 5 games.
I know we had one versus us. I know we had one yesterday. I saw the one yesterday. He's been playing lights out. So, Jeff, thanks for joining the show today, man. We'll talk to you again next week, hopefully with the Eagles at 3-2, but we shall see. This team never fails to surprise us, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you got it, guys. By the way, enjoy the football tonight. Should be a good one.
Yeah, Chiefs Saints tonight, so a good game tonight. Jeff,
and enjoy Citi Field on Tuesday or Wednesday.
It's a very nice stadium. I'll say that. I've been there multiple times. I really do enjoy going.
Well, then it beats Shea Stadium because that was a dump.
Oh, Shea Stadium sucked. I was there the last year. It was there, and Pat Burrell hit 2 home runs. It was he had 41 home runs in Shea Stadium, by the way, in his career.
Pat Burrell. All right, good Pat Burrell knowledge.
Yeah, that is good. That is good. Pat Burrell knowledge. Jeff, I've been enjoying your Phillies coverage. I'll continue to read it for Red October here. So appreciate it, brother.
Yep. See you guys. Thanks for having me on again.
Bud.
See you, Jeff. Great stuff from Jeff Kerr. Love getting Jeff. The East